So today, I want to discuss with you in detail the whole subject of cheating. And just for our purposes, it doesn't really matter whether the couple is married or they're living together, they're in an LDR. Essentially, cheating in what is understood to be an exclusive relationship. Now, this doesn't apply if you just went out on a date with them and then you dated somebody else and you're not really in an exclusive relationship. Exclusive means it excludes all other people on both sides for the man and the woman. So we're talking about relationships and how cheating kind of like ends up being a part of that at times. So I would say, I've been for 13 years now. I would say that the last 11 years, I have, on a very consistent basis, been, making myself available to different expats online or in person to discuss problems that came up. And I would say that money and romance are usually at the top of the list. And so the whole issue of cheating, and the reason I want to discuss this is because, number one, it helps to look at this objectively before you're in the situation. Because once you're in the situation and you find out that, she's been cheating on you, then it's kind of hard to think straight. And hopefully this will recenter you to the realities that you have to face when somebody cheats on you. So over the years, like I said, I've talked to so many guys, in confidence. Again, I don't give out their names or anything like that. And, and I've just told them how it is, whether they wanted to hear that or not. And I remember years ago, there was this guy, and, he for a while there, he was a pretty good friend. And we met in person here in the Philippines when he would come out. And this guy, to give you a little bit of background, easily making 7 figures in the United States. Money was not a problem. He was educated, of course, went to college, all this kind of stuff. Now, we had been conversing online and everything was good. And we were just talking about the pragmatics, the details of him coming over for a visit. He was not ready to retire in the States. He was about 48 years old. And but he did want to come to the Philippines. He wanted to start building a relationship, coming on a regular basis, and so that in the future, maybe 5-10 years down the road, he could hopefully know a woman well enough, a Filipina, to consider either marriage or moving to the Philippines. So that was his plan based on his situation. He couldn't just shut down his business and move to the Philippines permanent. He wasn't in a position to do that. He was, again, generating some really great income. So he came to the Philippines, we hung out a bit and, goofed around, Cebu and that kind of thing. And then he had already been chatting online and even dated this Filipina. And they were now in a relationship. And so he was like, one evening, he goes, "Oh, I want you to meet her. She's just, you got to meet her." So I did. We all had dinner together at a really nice restaurant there in Cebu. And my impression of her was pretty neutral. She was incredibly beautiful. Not really highly educated, but she wasn't entirely, like straight out of the province. She'd been living in the city and didn't seem malicious in any way. If anything, I think she just seemed kind of naive to maybe the complexities of city life, which ended up showing itself later. So time goes on over about a 1.5 year period, and I'm still chatting with him, and we're talking, and he's saying everything is groovy, and he makes another trip, and everything's going really good. Well, then his workload kind of, starts building up, and, instead of like coming every 3-4 months, now he can only come like every 6 months. Again, just because he's so busy in the States. And since some time has passed, about a year that he's getting to know her, it's not the same as getting to know her in person. Most of that, 80% of it, if not more, is done online with their chats and their videos and messages and all that, which, as I have said before, that's the tip of the iceberg. You don't see what happens the other 20 hours that you're not doing a video chat. They could be up to anything. And that's pretty much what happened. So he went ahead, and now that it had been a year, he's giving her a very healthy support amount, where you can call it what you want, an allowance, whatever. And he's made it clear, they've both agreed that they are exclusive, and he's even kind of thrown the marriage word out there. And no definite date, but he's like, well, yeah, she seems really sweet. Well, then he starts contacting me, and it was like talking to a whole different person. He was, we spent hours video chatting because he was at his wit's end. He was literally going like 2 days without sleep. He was just frazzled in his mind. He was traumatized to find out not only was, and he's providing her with an apartment, paying all the utilities, plus, like I said, allowance money. She's got it made. He did not fall short of financially making life very luxurious for her. And what ended up happening was her cousin had a boyfriend. Her cousin's Filipina, and the boyfriend was Filipino. And so in her free time, she ended up spending time with her cousin, female, Filipina. And next thing you know, the boyfriend is becoming part of their time hanging out together, which then led to the cousin and the Filipino boyfriend coming over to the apartment that he's paying for. And they're hanging out, and you can see things start to develop, and next thing you know, his girlfriend is cheating on him with the boyfriend of her cousin. Now that sounds bad enough, and he found out about it. And so you would think that's bad enough, but then he finds out that the three of them are all intimately engaged at the same time. So this guy is in the bed that he's paying for with both his girlfriend and the cousin. That's how low the situation got. And so it was driving him insane, literally. He was like not able to function in his job because it was just so incredibly stressful. It was affecting his physical health, his mental health, and it took quite a while, to talk with him and let him know the truth of the situation, the truth he didn't want to face. And so that brings me to the point that I want to make, is there are certain truths that you have to face when someone cheats on you. And what will drive you nuts is trying to smash the square peg into the round hole, trying to force reality where what you wanted and what you hoped for is somehow still a possibility, even though the reality is really all bets are off. Cheating is something that, we'll get into that more in a second. Cheating is something that is not negotiable. This is not like, for instance, had her only transgression been that she blew all of her allowance in 3 days on stupid stuff, purses and shoes and whatnot, and now she's calling him saying, oh, I don't have the money for this, the rent, whatever. That's a learning experience. That's something, you can bounce back from, and hey, try to be more responsible. I'll send you the money for this, that. Okay, you can work through that. But cheating is on a whole other level. This is not the same as oh, I locked my keys in the apartment, I can't get in. Cheating involves planning. Now, I know a lot of people will say, it just happened. Or, I was just drinking with some friends and one of them dropped me off at my place, or I stayed the night at their place, and then things just sort of happened. No, if you want to keep that from happening, you'll leave before you get drunk. You don't let some horny guy drive you home. It's that whole plausible deniability thing that women love to cloak themselves with. It just happened. No, it happened because they were irresponsible. They made bad choices. They let the guy into their apartment at 2 a.m. when she was half drunk. This is a matter of choices. Now, getting raped is a whole different thing. That's against her will. But when she is making irresponsible choices to be hanging out with some other guy who is not her boyfriend or not her husband, those are choices she's making. So that's one of the first things that if you're the guy who's been cheated on and you're trying to find a way to give her another chance, trying to find a way to salvage the situation because she's just so pretty, or she's just so great in bed, or she's, everything you were hoping for in a wife. But letting that distract you from the reality of what happened will drive you crazy. The other thing is, and I talked about this a little bit before, to be cheated on, it's a painful stab at you and your hopes and dreams. It's like here you went and trusted this person and they cheated on you. I mean, that's worse than a stab in the back. That's a stab right to the heart. And so because it hurts, the mistake some guys make is, well, this really hurts me, so now I'm going to make her feel the same amount of pain. And then that's when things get crazy. That's when things get violent. But the whole goal is payback. And guess what? That's not going to fix anything. All it's going to do is put you in liability of the law, and it's not going to fix the fact that she cheated. Now, I have, and I've talked about this in another video, I've had to make the difficult decision. And again, that's why I'm doing this video. It's a hard thing to do, even though logic and reality tell you exactly what you need to do. And I've been in that situation several times. Thought I was in a relationship, thought it was exclusive. I thought we were building on something. And this is after 3-4 months, not just somebody I met 2 weeks ago. And they're giving all the impressions that they love you and they want a future with you. But what they leave out is they want you, they want that future, but they want a little something on the side for themselves as well. Whether that's as a side entertainment when you're not around, or as a backup just in case the relationship doesn't work out. But that's not how you build an exclusive relationship, by sleeping with somebody on the other side. And when I say sleeping, we're speaking, a bit metaphorically here. Think about what that means. And this is, again, the reality that guys need to face when they find out that their girlfriend, their wife, was cheating on them, is that it's not like she fell asleep at a bus stop and some other guy late at night sat on the same park bench, bus stop bench, and he fell asleep and they slept together. That's not what this is. Let's just face it. She took her clothes off, made herself available to have sex with some other guy. And she enjoyed it, and he enjoyed it, and as long as they can keep getting away with it, they're going to do it again. And, I remember years ago reading an article, we're talking like 40 years ago. I read this article and it was talking about survivors of cheating. And they interviewed these two couples where there had been some cheating, and then they did some therapy and they worked it all out and whatever. And they said, okay, yeah, we're still married even after that happened. But that's fine. I mean, there's people that choose to remain in an abusive relationship. That doesn't mean it's a good relationship. You know, I knew a married couple, they were married their whole life from the time they got married till the time they died. But he was abusive and she was neurotic. They would have been better off getting divorced a long time ago and seeking out a healthy relationship each. Instead, they had this plaque that said, oh, we've been married 30 years. Well, yeah, making each other miserable, you know? So I really don't put a lot of stock into this whole thing of, well, she cheated, but, you know, we're going to work past it. Well, the only reason I could see even considering that is when there's kids involved. And a lot of couples, that's what they do. They tolerate each other, and once the last kid turns 18, it's like, we're done. We stayed together for the kids, for the appearance sake. Now that they're adults, now that they're not going to be so traumatized, you know, and to provide a stable financial situation for the family, the kids. Well, now that the kids have moved out, it's like, okay, you know, I'm done. You know, I'm still angry and hurt about the cheating, and maybe it's even still going on, and all the intimacy is blown out. It's been a cold marriage. It's like they're done. That's the only time I could see where maybe two people might agree to tolerate each other long enough just so the kids can get out of the house as an adult. But other than that, when there's no kids involved, when you've only been in a relationship for less than a year, even a year, when you've been married 2, 3, 4 years. I know this sounds hard line, but I have come to the point in my life after talking to so many guys that have faced this, after facing this myself more than once over the years. I have come to the conclusion that not just when it comes to cheating, but in other things, you have to have a standard and you have to stick to it. There has to be this line in the sand that she understands very clearly. You cross this line and we're done. No negotiations, no bartering, no second, third, fourth, fifth chance. This has to be understood. There just simply is no negotiating this point. You have a standard, you make it known to her, and you let her know how important this is to you. Now, what happens if you don't do this? Well, a lot of guys come here to the Philippines or Thailand or anywhere, and now they're with this beautiful, amazing woman, and things go good for a while. She cheats on him, and instead of having a hard and fast communicated line in the sand, instead of telling her you knew what the consequences would be and you did it anyway, any excuses or explanations she has after that don't mean anything. There is no excuse. I mean, you can look at it the other way. If you were the one cheating and you got caught, there's nothing you could say that would calm her down to where she would go, oh, yeah, I don't really have a right to complain. I don't have a right to be angry. I don't have a right to be hurt. No, this goes both ways. So what happens is guys get cheated on, but they want to hang on to her so bad because they don't have a standard and they don't stick to it. And so they tell themselves, oh, you know, I just can't lose her. I'll never get another one like her. You know, what we commonly call one-itis. And so they give her a chance. Now, the second he gives her a chance, it's like a domino effect. Here she is 1 minute knowing She has committed a mortal transgression to the relationship. She's been in fear that he would find out, and now it's come out in the open. He knows about it, and her biggest fear is that there's going to be consequences for it. But she cries, she explains, and the end result is he goes, well, okay, I'll give you another chance, but don't do it again. Well, the next domino to fall is her reaction to him giving her another chance. She's going to go, whew, that's not so bad, So what's going to keep her from doing it again? Because now she'll do it again, and only this time she's going to be more careful. She's going to cover her tracks better. She's going to erase those messages on Facebook or whatever. She's going to have better excuses and alibis for the time that she's out away from the house. And if he somehow manages to catch her again, she's going to cry even more and explain, and it just happened, and give me another chance. They will get on their knees. They will throw out the Oscar-winning performance, begging, crying. Believe me, I'm not exaggerating. I have seen it several times. And there you are, you're this guy, and it's a very surreal situation because you're just this guy who somehow, came into this relationship with an incredibly beautiful woman who, when she's not cheating on you, is doting on you. She's affectionate. She's hugging you. You're her sweetie pie, her babe, her whatever. And there you are, you're standing there, and here's this incredibly beautiful woman down on her knees, begging, crying, with her face buried in your shoes, begging you to give her another chance. Until you've been in that situation, I'm telling you, it is the hardest thing to hold the line and just tell her, we're done, pack your things. Most guys can't do it. That's the reality. And even if they verbally don't say, I'll give you another chance, in effect, that's what they do. They pull her up and they dry her tears and they give her a big hug and we'll work through it. He may as well just say, I'm giving you another chance to do it again. He doesn't realize that, but I'm telling you the truth. Same I've heard from so many guys and my own personal experience, I am telling you the truth. If you do not hold the line on something this important, all bets are off for anything less. Whether it's stealing money or anything else. Because if she will cheat on you, again, remember what that means. She purposely allowed some other man intimate access to her body and enjoyed it. That's a big line to cross. I said that it knocks over like a domino effect. Well, the next domino to fall is after you give her that first chance, that second chance, you know what else happens? In order to have a healthy relationship, you have to have mutual respect for each other. And once you respond with what you think is forgiveness and kindness by giving her a pass on cheating, the result is not that she's going to be, so appreciative for the second chance and she's going to do better. No. She's going to look at you and lose all respect for you. I know you probably don't want to hear that, but that's the truth. She's going to go, this guy's a sap. I just kicked him in the nuts and he's giving me a second chance. That's how she's going to look at you. You are now less of a man than any other guy that she's going to climb in bed with, in her mind. Now, you might be thinking, but if I just break up with her for cheating, I'm going to lose her. So what? You know what you're losing? A woman that won't be faithful. That's what you're losing. You know what that's worth? Not a whole lot. There are better women out there. And until you jettison her out of your life, have her pack all her stuff and move out, or if she's not moved in, just cut off all communication with her and move on. Until you do that, you're not going to find a good woman who is loyal, who is faithful. You're not going to find that woman as long as you're playing games with this one who doesn't respect you and crossed a line that she never should have crossed. Now, getting back to this issue of, well, I need to be forgiving. Forgiveness is the right thing to do. Okay, I fully support that. If based on your spiritual convictions, you feel that, well, when somebody does wrong to me, I'm going to forgive them. Okay. And the way I've handled that in the past is I forgive them, but there are consequences. And when I say I forgive them, I'm not going to look for any legal sort of retribution. When I say I forgive them, I'm not going to curse upon them and hope that their future turns into trash. When I say I forgive them, I'm not going to ask God to punish them. And I have told a few, I said, you know what? I forgive you. I hope that you can at some point get your act straight with God and stop doing stuff like this. And she's thinking, oh, you forgive me, so we're staying together? No, there are still consequences. I forgive you. I hold no charge against you from the law or from God. I hold no charge against you. However God wants to deal with it, that's between you and God. But me, I am not seeking vengeance at all. I'm not seeking any retribution at all. I forgive you of any ill will from me. But that does not mean we're going to stay together. If I caught you stealing money from me, you really think there's not going to be consequences? You really think I'm going to trust you? Now that you've cheated on me, you think I'm going to trust you in the future? What kind of relationship is that? I don't want to be your parole officer for the rest of my life, tracking everything you're doing because you've already proven you are not a trustworthy person. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a healthy relationship where two people trust each other, two people respect each other, two people love each other. That's what I want. And obviously, that's beyond your parameters at this point in your life. So go in peace, pack your stuff, and if you say, as they often will, I've learned my lesson. I told a woman who cheated on me once, she said exactly that. She goes, you don't understand. I regret this so much now. I've learned my lesson. And what I told her was, I'm so glad. I am so glad you learned your lesson. It will help you in your next relationship, but it won't help you with mine. I said, so the next guy that you date and you tell him you're in an exclusive relationship, you just said you learned your lesson. You'll be able to prove it by not cheating on him the way you cheated on me. So pack your things, time to go. So do not let the concept of forgiveness put you into a trap where you're constantly forgiving her cheating. No, you can forgive her, but she still needs to go. Now, if you still can't understand it, I'll give you a little analogy here, or metaphor. Imagine that you've got a 9-year-old daughter, and you're living in a nice little city, and 2 blocks down, some guy who's been watching your daughter and what time she comes home from school and when you're not home, that guy breaks into your home when your daughter is alone, he rapes her and he kills her. And then he gets caught. And there you are at the trial, and the sentencing is about to come down, and the judge asks you for a statement. The proper thing to do is to say, well, I forgive him in the eyes of God. It's up to God and him what happens from here on out. But as far as myself, I'm not praying for his damnation. I hope truly God has mercy on him. However, he must face the consequences, the legal consequences of what he did, which was horrific. Now, if you want to do it the other way, you would tell the judge, I'd like to drop all charges. The rape, the murder, breaking and entering, all of that. I want to drop all charges because I want to be forgiving. And after he gets out, I'm going to have this guy over for barbecues, and I'm going to go to his house and throw in birthday parties. We're going to be buddies. We're going to hang out. You see how ridiculous that sounds? Forgiveness does not mean a free pass and a reset, going back to a great relationship. It's not that anymore. That's gone. The plain fact is that cheating will kill a relationship on the first shot. Not after 10 times, the first time. Because it destroys trust. It shows lack of loyalty. You either have a standard and stick to it, or you are going to get walked on. You're going to get cheated on repeatedly, disrespected in your own home. That's what you're looking towards if you don't just walk away from a woman when she cheats on you. Now, if you see it differently, feel free to tell me in the comments. But I'm telling you, all the experience of talking to all the guys that have been through this for the last 11 years and having dealt with this myself, there is no bouncing back. There won't be a second chance. There will be no negotiations. I said, I'm offering my faithfulness. I'm offering all of my support in every way, financial, emotional, spiritual, everything. I'm offering all that. But if you show disloyalty by cheating on me or stealing from me, we're done. We're done. I've done it before. And I didn't want to. That's why I can tell you it's not easy. When I saw her there on the ground, begging repeatedly for another chance, I wanted so much to just pretend it never happened and stay with her. I understand. It's not easy when you're in love with them. It is the hardest thing to do. Everything in your brain, everything in your heart, everything in your entire body is screaming, give her another chance. But truth and reality told me, it's time to end this. We've crossed the Rubicon. There is no going back. It's not easy. It's probably one of the most painful things I've ever had to do. But looking back on it, as much pain as it caused for her, for me, it was the right thing to do. So again, love to hear your thoughts and comments there, and we can talk more about it there.